I've always liked to challenge myself. And one of the projects that I started and I've produced on a regular basis is the live streaming of the popular conference Brighton SEO. As well as the streaming of the whole conference live, I also hosted panel sessions during the intervals, which also incorporated bringing in remote guests. Here's an example of one of those. And welcome to the in-between session discussion panel. So in between each session that we've just had and that we will have in the future here at Brighton SEO Live, we're going to be discussing exactly what the speaker said and perhaps adding to that, perhaps debating what they said. So joining me for this particular session, I've got 4 cracking SEOs. So let's introduce them first of all. So first of all, with me to my right-hand side is Mr. Greg Gifford.
How are you?
Very good, thank you, and thanks for joining us, Greg.
Yeah. Always fun to do this.
Wonderful to have you here, and Bas Vandenbelt as well. Hi, Bas, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a very interesting setup here. It's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully everyone at home can hear us okay. Hopefully also Owen and Lucas can hear us okay, because we also have 2 guys joining us remotely. So first of all, let's say hi to Owen.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. You're swinging away happily there in your office there remotely. So thanks for joining us, Owen. And also with us is Mr. Lucas Selesny, the smartest SEO in town.
Thank you very much, David, for the invitation. It's a pleasure and honor as always.
And he's making the rest of us look underdressed.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to have to go in, change your attire here, and leave Lucas to it. So take it away, Lucas. No.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, thank you everyone for joining me. So we had 3 cracking talks there in the first session there. We had Stacey McNaught that started us off, Paul Madden after that, and Hannah Smith after that. So Paul Madden started off with Navigating an Ocean of Link Data, a former pirate's story. So he initially started off by talking about audit mistakes and how most people were afraid to audit too harshly, and I saw Greg tweeting about that a bit there as well. Is that something that resonated with you, Greg?
Yeah, I always like hearing people that have access to just massive amounts of data and be able to see things at scale like that. And with what we do, I don't really have to do a whole lot of link auditing because I'm mostly working with car dealers in the United States, and they have really, really small numbers of links. But I do speak at a lot of conferences, and so I talk to a lot of people that have problems with that. And a lot of my speaker friends tend to be link auditing experts, and they all say the same thing. Most people nowadays are way too aggressive with what they do, and they end up hurting themselves because, like, one of the great things that I tweeted that he said is you can't judge the value of a link by the way a website looks. And I have lots of friends that have problems with customers and clients that do that. They'll say, oh, that site looks crappy, I got to get rid of that link. And it's a bad idea.
Apparently, it's not just the way the website looked. What Paul said is that even the BBC and YouTube were disavowed.
Which is crazy. I don't know how people, unless you're just lazy about what you're cutting and pasting, I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I know.
So this is great, guys. This is just a free-for-all. So just jump in whenever you've got opinion about what's been discussed in the previous session there. But one figure that jumped out is 65%, I think Paul said, of disavow files he finds to be not full of the right domain, certainly, as well. Is that something you've experienced as well, Bas?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, well, it's getting less now, but especially when Google just came with the disavow option, things went completely ballistic, and people just disavowed almost everything from a website. And I got I think 2-3 emails a day on State of Digital from people asking to remove their links from State of Digital because it might potentially be harmful to them. It's like if you looked at the site, it's like they just went for it.
That's ridiculous. Lucas, do you spend a great deal of time on disavow?
Well, I think generally I just wanted to say something more broad because as everybody knows, Paul, he's always very honest about his past and so on. And I think he won't be angry if I will say that he's a kind of an indicator how the industry looked like. Back in the day, there was lots of gaming, playing with the factor and so on and so on. And right now, you're hearing less about manual action. I think everybody took to the heart that we need to go with the long-term strategy. In terms of your question, obviously, I know people who are crazy about the disavowing, and sometimes they have a profile of really organic profile with thousand backlinks, and they are coming to me and asking, like, you know what, I think this one link may make me into penalty or into pain. It's like, don't think this way. So I think it's great that we have this tool, but overall you can see that the whole industry is evolving into something what is a long-term strategy, wide hat, and very strategic corporate level of SEO.
So Lucas knows some people that are crazy. I'm sure we all do. But in relation to Paul's talk, Owen, what are your thoughts on what he said?
Well, for me, that was some interesting insights from the dark side, I'd call it. I've never been involved in link building, so I've never had to clean up my mess. I've had to clean up other people's messes, but yeah, it was really insightful and interesting, and I like what he does with data mainly.
Does any have any thoughts on the future of the disavow tool, and whether it's going to be even more important in the future, and or is it something that's not going to be as important?
Probably won't be needed that much anymore in future, right?
Okay, that's
like when it came out, it was obviously important, but right now, I guess there's just less use cases for it. You're either clean or you've already done it, right? Or what do you think?
Okay, so
you don't clean your house just once. You keep it clean. But the disavow tool was to clean the house just for that once, and now you have to keep it clean step by step.
And is there a significant opportunity for many companies to actually undisavow? I think that was the phraseology that he used to take take domains. Reavow, sorry, yes.
Reavow.
Okay.
I like this word. I think this is the Paul's word. I first time heard this, but it's very rarely that the domain that was crap, as bad as you had to disavow, somehow magically out of nowhere become a quality one. I think you can do this only on the basis of experiment, just to see if that will help. But I don't know anybody who would reavow. I love this word, reavow links. And you know what? I just wanted to mention one more thing. I don't know if other guys will agree with me. I sometimes feel like links are, 2009 and 2016, back in the day, everybody wanted to have a website. Those days, lots of people is like, oh, I will have a fan page on Facebook. And the linear growth of number of websites that have been potentially available back in the day to get links from, and today is maybe decreasing because people are more likely opening Facebook fan page and so on. I think this is a bit different conversation, but just wanted to do this point.
Everything's linked together. Another the related things as well is I noticed that Paul was saying that an email beginning hi first name seemed to get much better uptake than hello or another salutation as part of the email, and that was interesting to me because everything impacts conversion rates, and that relates to SEO as well, the kind of outreach that you want to do. Do you have any thoughts on that one, Greg? Are you involved with outreach much?
Yeah, definitely when we do link outreach, that personal relationship. One of the things he'd said is, too many people don't spend enough time on the relationship building, and they need to spend more time building the relationships and on outreach instead of just spending all their time on the content. And I've seen that for sure with the things that we've done, where if it's more of a less templated, more personal, it seems to do a lot better.
I've been on the receiving end of the outreach a lot. And it does make a difference if the name is there, but even with the name, you just know that they can automate it. So it's potentially they might know you, but I think the content of the email is much more important, and the relationship on that. Not just an email like, hey, I read your post, it's amazing. You know what? I have my own post here. I had this guy recently who was looking for links, so he outreached to me, and he figured out that one of my infographics on the website, the link that was to the original infographic, the original page was changed, so the link was dead. So he found a dead link on my website, emailed me saying, yeah, I found a dead link on your website. It's like, oh, great. And then in the second email, he answered up, he followed up on that. He's like, yeah, you can put this link into instead of that one, which was to his website. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I don't even know who you are. So, but they try, and sometimes it apparently works.
So we had 2 other great talks as well, of course, from Stacey McNaught, Hannah Smith as well. What Hannah was saying, I mean, she was saying the word resonate a lot, which was an artistic view on obtaining links, obviously, but as a result of producing content that resonated with an audience there as well. Greg, did that talk resonate with you?
For sure, because one of the things that I always talk about, car dealers and attorneys as well are really, really, really bad about pushing out just absolute crap content. They're pushing out content for content's sake. They don't really think about what the content is, and taking a step back and thinking, okay, look, if I'm going to make this content and I want to get links out of it and I want people to read it, I want people to share it, making that extra effort to make sure that it's something that people care about is so important, because if you're just going to push the content out and who cares, okay, well then nobody else is going to care either, and why would people link to it if you don't really care about it?
Bas, have you actually changed your strategy with regards to the content that you produce to actually tailor it towards more of a specific audience in mind now, maybe compared with what you were doing perhaps 5 years ago?
5 years ago is a tough one. I've been saying this kind of thing that's Hannah was preaching for about 5 years, I think. I've always tried to be valuable for the reader and valuable for the people that I'm targeting. So I think we've all probably done it in the past, that we've created content that actually made no sense just for the sake of creating content. But I've always had at least the goal to create stuff that actually made sense for the people that I was targeting. So I can't say that I've changed my strategy, because I think I've already had the right strategy.
Okay.
So I didn't change.
Talking about content that makes no sense, what Stacey was saying, I certainly remember Unique Article Wizard.
Yeah.
And I was using that way back in about, I think, 2005 or something like that. So it's more than 10 years ago or so that they were going. And unfortunately, tactics like that did work very effectively indeed back then. But I mean, I certainly haven't even checked out the site in the last few years to see if it's even up now. Owen, I see you nodding away there as well. Is that a tactic that you remember using?
Well, I think we've seen 2 very different or almost opposite approaches or positions when it comes to generating links or acquiring links or building links or however you want to call it. Stacey and Paul were more from the scalable side, building links in the literal sense, but maybe with a slightly different strategy nowadays than 5 years ago. And I think Hannah was more from the side that, well, that's probably an approach that's probably a lot less scalable, because it's more about the quality of the content and trusting in your content to be able to generate links by itself, maybe with a little help here and there, but something that's a lot less scalable as a service or as a strategy or as a tactic or whatever you want to call it. And I myself do tend to, well, I do prefer the latter approach that Hannah apparently uses. But on the other hand, it's obvious that things like what Stacey and Paul do work really well. What I found interesting in Stacey's description was she spoke about white hat link building. She says, what can white hat link builders learn from churn and burn spammers? And I would just like to ask you, does such a thing as white hat link building actually exist?
Well, I don't believe that Google talk about link building in any form, and they certainly used to talk about getting links from a few good directories, and I think they did at one stage give the Yahoo directory as an example. But they're obviously of the mindset that, build publish cracking content and share it, and people will naturally want to link to it, which most SEOs believe that it needs a little bit of augmentation. One thing that Stacey also mentioned was that quantity is still very, very important. A lot of people maybe focus on just quality too much now and just publishing content and then outreach from there and only doing a piece of great content perhaps every month or so, and the consistent quantity focused approach is still absolutely necessary. I see you nodding your head there, Lucas. You're obviously on social media, a very quantity focused individual. Does that also relate to the content that you produce for different websites online?
I think this is my first place to go: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and even now there was Martin on chat we have right now and he was mentioning that social media, in his opinion, helps a lot in link building. Quantity matter, but I just wanted to say something very important. There was a case study that the quality doesn't necessarily means that you will get links. Yeah, so lots of government websites has a very high quality content and very little backlinks. People are going and reading, but not linking to. So what I like from Stacy's presentation, and this is what we had this chat with Max from Shino Digital, always pick up one thing. So I pick up one thing from Stacy's presentation, which was invite journalists to they inviting journalists to their office and asking like, can you give us advice? It's very educational. It's very, there is an added value. All right. And at the end of the day, there is a relation that they can later came to him and say like, you know what, maybe we can do something else together and so on and so on. I'm using commune.it just to see people in social media who I have lots of relation with. And, probably like Alexandra is one of the person. My first article on my website was about mentioning her blog. There was some interaction in the comments, and this is the real relation between people.
Great stuff. Okay, just to give our panelists a little warning here, I think that would be actually, and we've got about 10 minutes or so of discussion more to go, and I think that would be a good way to conclude it in about 10 minutes of time or so, is which particular thought resonated probably with you the most among all the speakers. So we'll finish like on that in a little bit there as well. But one other thing that Stacey was talking about is forward planning as being very, very important. Relationships with editors, but having a copy of editorial calendars, obviously different times in mind when you're going to be publishing or hoping to have content published on sites, and also building relationships as well prior to actually requiring content to be published. If you've got that good one-on-one relationship with people, then it's going to be so much easier to get that piece of content published. Is that something that you practice, Bas?
Yes, definitely. I thought that was a brilliant tip actually from Stacey, where she talked about, I have it here, it's like she did a Google search, she showed a Google search with forward features to 2016 file type PDF, which then shows you hopefully some of the calendars that the publications are using, so you can actually act on it. And I've said this so many times to people who were approaching me. It's like many of the vendors, like platforms and tools that wanted to get attention in the last couple of years, sent me press releases saying, well, we have something new, we've got a new feature, it's brilliant, and do you want to write about it? And then it was like, yeah, you should give me a little bit of heads up, because they launch it like the day before, or they don't look at what we're publishing at the time, so it doesn't make sense at that point in time. So they have missed out a lot of the time just because of that.
Or I don't know who you are. So.
Yeah. or that, yes. But actually knowing what the publication is about and when they write about certain things, that makes such a huge difference. We do it with writing stuff around Christmas and around New Year's and the summer holidays and whatever. We create content based on that. Why do we do it there but not think about the publications that we're trying to target?
Greg, I'm sure you're a big relationship builder when it comes to actually thinking about future content opportunities.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't remember which one of them was talking about it, was using the smaller local publications as an opportunity to get into something larger, because the bigger publications will pick up those regional stories, and that's been a good tactic for us. And it's something I think a lot of people, most of the people I talk to, are really trying to get the big bang. They want the really big story, and Huffington Post or something huge, and they forget that you can get a whole lot of value out of the smaller regional things that are, just in your city. So, and especially for us doing local SEO, I almost care more about getting the small regional mentions than the giant mentions, because that helps us even more in local relevancy.
I think that's a wonderful tip there, and yeah, I was thinking about that as it was being discussed certainly as well, because obviously these massive publications, the BBC, other sites like that, are going to have thousands of queries, possibly even every single day, to actually trying to get content published on them, and you've got to leverage the existing relationships that they have, and they'll be trusting existing smaller news sources and have relationships with them already. So if you can get content published on them, much easier to get content published on bigger sources. Owen, have you get any thoughts on that one there about kind of building relationships with people prior to getting content published, and other ways to actually make it more likely to get your content published?
I'm really bad at building or maintaining relationships, so I'm not going to answer your question directly. But just one thing I want to say, it's not at all a reply to your question or anything, but I just think that this is amazing. This is the first time that I'm watching a conference in a live stream, and I just want to say thanks, because it's really awesome. And I hope we'll be able to see a lot more of this.
Well, thanks.
And sorry for changing the topic.
No, thanks so much for participating, and it's great to have everyone on, certainly. So just in relation to this, Lucas, have you got any more thoughts on making it more likely that you can get content published elsewhere?
Well, you know me quite long. I like to give people this actionable suggestions. I have my iPhone, and every time I have an idea to write something interesting, and it's in the bus, on the bicycle, I'm stopping, and I'm just at least writing title and few bullet points. Don't have time right now, don't have time next week, but maybe after a month I will have a time. I will sit somewhere in the plane, flying between conferences with bus to Iceland, maybe, who knows. And I will write the article, and because that will be my honest personal view, something different, not just written for sake of saturate SERPs. I think that what makes this 10 times better content, what Rand Fishkin is always saying about. And relation, I love spending time with people. We know quite, you know how it works with me. That builds a normal relation that, generally you can later convert into kind of online success.
Great. Okay. Well, we're nearing the end of roundtable number 1. We've got 4 roundtables between the sessions today. So let's just finish up with one final thought from all of our panelists. Maybe starting with Bas, about what most resonated with you.
Well, I think all 3 of the speakers highlighted one thing several times, actually, and that is understanding who you're dealing with, and whether it's the journalist or the publication that you're trying to target to, whether it's the audience that you're trying to reach through the content that you're trying to get out there, whether it's the blog that you want the link for, you have to understand who you're dealing with. If you don't understand who you're dealing with, it's not going to work. And I think that resonates, the word resonate again, most from this session, I think.
Great. Okay. And Greg?
Kind of building on that, just taking the ideas of your audience and using that to create something that resonates with them even more. Because again, there's so much bad content out there of people that are just writing content for content's sake, and if you just take a little bit of time to think about what the audience cares about, your content's going to perform so much better for you, and it's time so much more well spent.
And Owen, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I really like the different perspectives that were brought in, and I guess it's important to find the right mix of good content, obviously, and scalability without going too far, I guess, into either direction. So I guess whoever saw the session today and listened to all 3 speakers should be able to find the right mix for their own brand or their own professional business or whatever.
Great stuff. And last but not least, Lucas.
So I really enjoyed Stacey presentation. I think it was very useful. Lots of these little things you can implement tomorrow in your normal daily job. And if you don't mind me to resonate a bit with people on the chat, I just wanted to say greetings, and especially to my Polish mates, panowie, panie, panowie. Pozdrawiam serdecznie, greetings, and guys, enjoy conference, because I think Authoritas and BrightonSEO are doing fantastic job. Even if you are 1,000 miles away, you can be there on the conference and see what's going on there, and it's very, very useful. So David, fantastic job. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Lucas. Well, joining us for this session were Greg Giffords, I'm from Dealer On, Bas van den Belt, I'm from State of Digital, Lucas Zalesny from uswitch.com, and Owen Henna from Rebelytics.